coming to the Oxford Rotary Club. We have our guest speaker from the Levy, Edwards Levy Company, or American Aggregates here in Oxford. Obviously, the company has had a strong standing here in our community for many, many years. Today it is with honor that we welcome the property manager for Edwards C. Levy Corporation here in Oxford, Dale Sawyer. Please come to the podium. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Brian. I'm really glad to be here. Want to introduce this guy. This is my youngest son. I have three. His name is Jared. Without Jared, this PowerPoint that has been put together for the sake of this meeting couldn't have been here, because I know computers enough to do my job, but that's a little bit beyond my room. I'll start out by saying this. I'm a lucky guy. I am really a lucky guy. I've had 5 jobs in my life. I've never had one that I didn't like. I've been at Levy for 23 years. I've been there far longer than I was at any other job, and I've never had a bad one. Like a lot of us do, my education was in business, so naturally I went into engineering. That's the way it happens. I worked in county government in 3 different counties throughout the state: Jackson County, Newaygo County, Mason County, for a total of 17 years. I went to work for another construction company, construction materials company. At that time, it was called the Thompson McCulley Company, very successful company. I worked there for 5 years, and a friend of mine had started at Levy, and he said, you know, we really need you, we really want you here. And that was in 1995, and I've been here ever since. There's another reason I'm a lucky guy. I've been married to one of the more patient women on this planet for 36 years. We have 3 boys. I'm gonna come back to family, because Levy's a big part. Levy's a family, and hopefully I can shed some light on that for all of you today. But this is my family. You can see me and my 3 boys. We have a golf team. That golf team's called Half Ton of Fun. You can see those are our away jerseys, those are our home jerseys. We have shirts made, we have a good time with it, and I think Jared threw in that picture just to show that we can get dressed up too. That happened to be at Jared's wedding. We had 3 weddings the past 3 Octobers.
Did you make shape?
Exactly. I'm very proud of them. They're all doing well. They have all, at one time or another, worked for the Levy Company, either as an intern or with a full-time job. Jared has actually been at Levy 6 years? 6 years. I'm 63. I've told the company I want to take my temperature when I'm 68, because I still like my job. Last year we were told that in these next few years I'm supposed to be training him to take my place, which that's a good thing. It's a big company. It's a great company. I'm proud to work for them. Now, in 2018, we celebrated 100 years of business. We are privately held, we are American owned, and our headquarters is in Dearborn, Michigan. 100 years of business is a big deal. There were we had different celebrations. I think, Jack, you were able to attend one. We had several different ones. They made some videos. Now, Jared and I went through and we picked out one that gives a snapshot of our company. And I think the music's really cool too. And it's only a couple of minutes, but I'd like to show you that video, and then we're gonna get back and talk some more about the Levy company. So Jared. Like I said, 100 years. That's a big deal to me. That's a big deal. It started with a handshake. It started with a handshake between Ed Levy Sr. and Henry Ford. Ed was born in 1900. He grew up on a farm where Big Beaver and I-75 is now. You know, in the early 1900s, Henry Ford came to the farm and he was looking to Ed's dad for investors in his business. He rode up in what Ed's dad called a contraption, and all he knew was that it scared his horses. He passed on the investment, but Ed Levy eventually got into his own business. He bought his first truck in 1918. He started hauling refuge out of the alleyways in the city of Detroit. He was hauling produce into stores in town. But that 1918 was the birth of the Levy Company. Then he went and looked up Henry Ford, and he said, "I'll treat your money like it's mine." That was the start of the company. Who we are. We're a construction materials company. We're big in the steel business. There's a product called slag. We process that and refine it. We find a way to incorporate that into asphalt and concrete and road bases. Aside from that, and dovetailing off of that, we have concrete plants. We have asphalt plants. If you see Ace Asphalt, that's us. See Saginaw Asphalt, that's us. If you see Cadillac Asphalt, that's us. All the greater metro area. Concrete, you see Superior Materials, that's us. You see Protocon, which is based out of Macomb County, that's us. To supplement all those things, we need mining sites. We have to process sand and gravel. That's one of the foundation of making and selling those materials. That's where I come in. Sometimes I find those properties. Lots of times I don't. Maybe somebody else does. But I get involved where the permitting, the community relations, Getting a permit for those activities lots of times isn't easy. You have to have haul route permits, you have to have soil erosion permits, you have to have mining permits. So that's where I get involved in it. There's just a few things here. I've written a few notes down just so I don't forget. One of the things we've spun off into, out of the slag business, we have a company called Plant Tough. It's a fertilizer company. It's based on lime. That's turning into a pretty good business venture for us. We're always looking to expand into new things, and in the last 10 years, that Plant Tough thing has happened. I'm not in the steel business, and I'm not involved. I only work in Michigan, and I work primarily at our mining sites. But in steel, we're, again, keep in mind, privately owned company based in Dearborn. We have operations in Seattle and Memphis and Columbia, Mississippi, Ohio, Indiana, Charleston, South Carolina, all in the steel business. Internationally, we have operations in Brazil, France, Thailand, India, Mexico, and a big operation in Australia. Again, I'm not in the steel business. I don't know about those businesses, but I know they exist. There's about 74 Levy companies altogether. And again, I find it miraculous, and I'm really proud. It's a good place to work, and it's still a family business. Let's go with that. Yeah. The guy on the upper left, that's Ed Levy Sr. He passed some time ago. The guy on the right, that's Ed Levy Jr. He's in his 80s. He still comes to the office every day. He's very involved in the business. The guy in the lower left, that's Evan Wagner. Evan Wagner's our Chief Operating Officer, and he's been that for as long as I've been at Levy, for more than 20 years. Very smart guy, very charismatic guy. The guy on the bottom right, that's Evan's son, Elliot.
Yeah.
Elliot's in his 30s. He's a bright young mind. I don't have any personal doubt, and I know a lot of Levy people would share this thought with me. With that guy behind the wheel, we're going to have another 100 years. My boss is not in that picture. My boss is Steve Wagner. That's Evan, the COO. That's his brother, and that's Elliot's uncle. Now, I've heard Steve say to me, at our company, nepotism's good. If you find that you have a good employee, there's probably a greater than 50% chance that person's son or daughter is going to be a good employee too. So it all works out for us. One of the things that I'm very proud of about Levy, our mission statement, and there are many things in there, but the one that hits the most home with me is you treat other people as you'd want to be treated. And then you make sure they do the same back to you. And that's fair, and that's what we want to be. I mentioned our asphalt plants. We have mining operations in Michigan. We have several in Oakland County. We have operations in Livingston County, in Tuscola County, in Washtenaw County. We have a couple that are closing shop, we're wrapping those up in Macomb County. We have a limestone quarry right up on the Saginaw Bay in Bayport, Michigan. That quarry, Levy hasn't owned it for all this time. That quarry opened in 1880.
Wow.
And it's still around. Now, I was a part of expanding that quarry for the first time ever 2 years ago. We added 60 acres adjacent to it. We bought it, we permitted it. It was a big deal. I think Levy's owned that quarry for about 40 years. We have another quarry in Alpena. And that's, if you've been up to Alpena, there's a lot of quarries up there. Ours is one of them, and it's a good sized quarry. We have rail into the quarry. We ship outside by rail to, we have a yard, a distribution yard in Collin, Michigan, up in Bay County. And sometimes that stone goes to many other places. We have docks. We have docks in Saginaw. We have docks in Marine City, docks in the Detroit area. But what I wanted to come back to, I mean, you can see the family thing here. That's how it is. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if this is the right way to put it. I don't know if we're a big little company or a little big company, because sometimes we act like both. But I'll tell you, that part of that mission statement, and those guys, and I'm sure Ed Sr., I never got to meet him. He passed before I was born. But those three guys in that picture, every time that you see them, they talk to us about being safe. Now you look at some of our operations. I mean, there's lots of big equipment. There's lots of moving parts. It's an easy place to get hurt. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of stored energy. There's a lot of things like that. One of the pictures that you saw in that video, that was a pot carrier. That carries that molten slag. That's what that guy was tipping over that looked like flame was coming out. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential for accidents. These guys made it a point. We're going to be world class as far as safety. Not just for the benefit of our people, but for the benefit of our work record, for the benefit of our business. And so what they did, and this has happened, there's always been a focus on safety, but what they did was that they refocused. They looked at other companies that had great safety records, and they studied them. And they traveled across the United States to do this, and we sent teams of people. Now, our safety record has improved dramatically in the last several years. And again, we've always been focused on it, but that was a refocus. And I don't know how they come up with all the rating systems, but you know, there was a time when if you had like a 2.0 rating, you were world class. Well, I think in 2018 we were 1.2. So we were in the world class area. Our goal is to be zero. We want zero incidents. There are, you know, the way they define safety is there's a first aid, you put a Band-Aid on it. Or you consult a physician over the phone. You make sure you're okay, you don't miss any work. There's a recordable, that's where you have to go see a doctor. And then there's lost time. You got hurt bad enough, you're off work. That costs everybody. And most of all, it costs the person that it happened to. They acknowledge that. They really try to promote that safety part of it. In 2018, like I said, there are 74 levee companies. 83% of them had 0 recordable injuries and 0 lost time accidents. So it's working. And it's those guys, it's their goal to make it work. Like I said, I watch that video, I get pumped up. You know, this is, it's a really good company, and I'm very proud to work for them. Levy's, I was talking with Jack about it earlier. We're big in the community. We have several, like, big charitable events for junior achievement every year. I mean, it's a big deal. Habitat for Humanity, we're very involved in that. United Way, extremely involved. I know that the goal is to get every one of the employees in Michigan at least contributing something. You don't pass on the United Way. That's been a goal. I think last year we actually hit it. I mean, we were, 98%, 99%. I think last year everybody at least gave something. And it's really important to Levy. 2 years ago, I was involved in a project called Life Remodeled in the city of Detroit. Now there was, probably 50 Levy volunteers. It was on a Saturday. But 12,000 people converged in the city of Detroit. And you divide it up into teams. And The team I was on was like 20 people. They gave us lawnmowers with fuel, weed whackers, pruners. We even had a guy with a chainsaw. And during the time that we worked, we cleaned 4 lots. Cleaned, raked, disposed of everything. They're big in the community. They want to be there and they want to do those kind of things. What we do as far as mining, I call it progressive. You know, we can't pick where the material is. We have to mine it where it is. But when we do that, we have a plan. Let's go to that first one. Am I on your way here? Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, this is a site. This is southwest of Novi. This is at Wixom Road and 10 Mile Road. That lake was a lake that was mined. It was created by mining. It's 110 acres big. That picture was the year 2000. Let's look at the next one. Toll Brothers bought that site in 2003. Toll Brothers out of Philadelphia. That's the site in 2018. There's 650 homes built around it. And they're all pretty nice homes. That's our goal. Our goal, when we mine, our goal is the second harvest. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Many of you may recognize this site. This is Ray Road and M24. That's where American Aggregates, that's where we operate there. You can see that corner of the site. In 2005, we still had conveyors and processing equipment down there. We're still making material. 2014, we built up a lot of that shelf along M24. We're doing it with engineered fill. We compact it, we test it. It's clean fill that came from the site. We don't import fill from another place. That material came from that site. Go ahead, Jared. 2016, it's looking even better. And we're just going to keep going on. 2018. Again, we're getting up fairly close to the elevation of N24. But this is going to be, go ahead, Jared. Thank you. Is this your drone photo? Mm-hmm. Okay. He's real proud of this. He gets to operate, we have a drone that's a pretty awesome drone. We configure quantities in a stockpile down to the pound. We configure how much material that guy moved. When he said he moved this much, we know he moved this much. We use it for a variety of things, and it takes great photos. We also have a boat drone where we can send that drone out on a lake. It's a remote control. It's this big? Yeah. 3 feet. They named it the SS Minnow, by the way. But that boat drone they can send out on the lake, and it will tell you if your underwater slopes meet the requirements that you're supposed to meet. Whether you got a 1-on-5 slope, if the water's 20 feet deep, that kind of thing. So the technology that we're able to use now, this is the new generation. These are all good things. Levy's very progressive. Last year at Ray Road, we launched this new dredge. It's called the Centennial Dredge. And we're going to be mining there for a good while because of that dredge. Now, we're continuing to reclaim progressively as we go. There may be someday that part of that site is developed while we're still mining part of it. We don't know that yet. All we know is that we're working towards that. That's what we want. And we want that second harvest. One of the things, getting a mining permit isn't always easy. In fact, a lot of times it's not. We joke about it. Many of you probably have heard of these terms. We're a NIMBY. We're a LULU. NIMBY's the acronym for Not in My Backyard, or Local Unwanted Land Use. What we found is that even in some of these protracted and many times legal battles, what we found is that once we get in there, people recognize that we are good neighbors. And that if there's a complaint or if there's a situation, we're gonna address it. And we're gonna do our best to correct it. And we're gonna act quickly and we're gonna respond quickly. That's the Levy way of doing business. Again, treat others as you want to be treated and expect that back from them. We've had townships where we had an 8-year legal fight. We get a permit. 2 years later, they know we're being good neighbors. We're doing everything we said we'd do. I go to get a permit at another place. I say, hey, can I get a letter of reference? I usually get that the same day. So when we get there and people see what we do and they see how we're committed to living up to our word, it goes a long way to develop that trust. My philosophy in life goes a lot along with that mission statement. And again, the family thing at Levy is a genuine family thing, and I'm big on my family, like all of us are. But I've told the boys certain things. One of them is, and I know they've all gotten tired of hearing this, it really isn't that hard. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. You follow it. It's not rocket science. Working at Levy has given me the opportunity to be able to do that. And it's a very good company. It's a very strong company. I'm really proud to work there and be a representative of there. I'm glad my boys have been able to work there. You know, if Jared gets to take my place someday, I consider that a pretty darn good compliment. So, at any rate, I thank you for allowing me to be here. If there's any questions you have that I can answer, like I said, unless it involves slag, I'll help you as much as I can. Mr. Dunn.
Mr. I'm Bill Dunn. I'm the township supervisor. I've been the supervisor for 20 years now. It's hard to believe. But I've dealt with these guys, not daily, but a lot. Anytime you drive on Sanders Road, Ray Road, any of the roads here, I've approached the Levy company to donate the gravel, and they've done it. They've done miles and miles of gravel road. As a matter of fact, probably 10 years or 15 years ago, myself and I believe it was the fire chief at the time, knew we were going to need a fire station at the north end. The Levy company's mining up there right now, and eventually there'll be homes up there. And what I did was, or me and the chief did, was approach Levy to give us a site up there for a future fire hall. So 10, 15, 20 years from now, we won't have to go out and look for it. We don't have to come up with the money, raise everybody's taxes. They contributed a 3.25 acre site that if anybody that's been here for a while would remember where they launch gliders up the road there. It was that part of that site, and we are set for another fire hall up at the north end of town. And what that's going to do is lower people's home insurance rates dramatically, because we'll have a fire hall close within so many miles of the home. And again, that's because of Levy. Anytime I've had a problem or need something done, they've come through. And it doesn't take, I don't have to jerk them, they just do it. And if there was a good corporate neighbor in the dictionary, it'd have Levy's face on it. They're just a great corporate neighbor, and I'm glad to have them in the community.
Very good. Just don't give them any money for that, Steve.
Yeah. They hasn't even bought me lunch.
Billy, you gotta get better.
I have a curiosity question.
Sure.
You know, the biggest problem with civilization is garbage. Is there some project that you have where in the quarry you develop them as a garbage disposal?
Are you talking about in a landfill or?
Yeah, landfill.
Some of the time.
Be careful.
No, some of the time, some of our slag products
Yep.
are used to cap them, but as far as a reuse of a landfill site, I'm sure there's people working on that that are smarter than me, but I don't know of anything that's imminent. I know that doesn't answer your question,
No, that's
but the
fine.
answer is I
I'm just curious.
don't know of that. Anyone else?
I'll just comment too, several years ago, we had a Smithsonian exhibit here at the Public Library called The Way We Work. And when we went through laying out that exhibit on a local level, the American Aggregates and Levy Corporation came into play a lot. Not that we reached out to them a lot, but we can't deny the fact that this community in so many ways is built around the Levy Corporation or American Aggregates. And that without their presence in this community would not be what it is today. And so whether you have good feelings about that or bad feelings about that, it's undeniable that they have had a presence here for a long time, and that they're going to likely have a presence here for a long time. And the contribution that they've made to the community is it can't go without saying thank you for what you do for the community and what your entire team, everybody who works for the company. And I have to tell you, there's a librarian in the room, when I started researching the company and inviting Dale to come speak, it was mind-blowing to me the things I just didn't realize about the Levy Corporation. And that, when we think of it a lot of times on a local level, we think of, the railroad plant or what used to be where Boulder Point is today. Aside from all of that, the company is huge. It's huge. It is a multi-international company on scales blowing all of your minds out of the water if you really take the minute to look at their website and look at all the subsidiaries of the company. It's just unbelievable. So thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you for coming to speak to us today. We really appreciate it, and we're glad that you can be part of that.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. Just to piggyback on what Brian said, our website's listed right at the bottom, edwclevy.com. And our website is, you looked at it, Brian, there's a lot of information on there. But again, thanks for having us here.
I wanted to thank you also, as a quality fastener representative. We have the fastener contract for your company.
Oh, okay.
And we do very well with them, and you do very well with them, because we beat the biggest one out in the country. We beat them out by service and price, and we've got all your business for your fasteners.
That's awesome.
So it is awesome, but thank you.
I'm glad to hear it. Well,
Thank you.
What do you see as your main future challenge as a company, talking about future, about 50 years from now? What are growth, competition from China, other countries? What is your main problem?
one of the, and I don't necessarily look at it as an issue, but one of the things I hang my hat on, and I'm very proud of it. We're a privately held company. We have competitors of the size that we are that are not. They're publicly traded. So in certain ways, I think we have real advantages there. Our board of directors can be cut down to a pretty short meeting sometimes. As far as challenges that I see, and that's a great question. Like I said, it's getting harder and harder, in particular in our business, to get mining permits. It's tough. Like I said, everybody wants good roads. Everybody wants, poured wall basements, all the things that those kind of products bring. But not everybody thinks about where you get them from. And like I said, we can't pick where the gravel is. We have to go where it is. So that, to me, and it's been a challenge for 20 or more years. And honestly, it depends on where you go in the state. There are some places it's not a challenge at all. People accept it as a way of life. The quarry I mentioned on Saginaw Bay in Bayport, there were people there and there were decision makers there. And Brian, I appreciate what you said, but I can tell you this, having spent a lot of time in Bayport, Michigan, and I think there's one restaurant, and I don't know if there's a hotel or not. It's not a big place. I can tell you this for sure. That quarry, and it was before we owned it, it did build that town. It did build that town. And the people there knew it. But getting back to your question, to me the biggest challenge for us is going to be finding new properties, which we have properties in queue right now. But we also know it's going to be a long road for us to be able to start mining them. They're making strides in the construction materials business. It goes on annually, and it's like any other business. You know, when I started out working for the counties, I was an asphalt inspector. Well, you couldn't use more than like 5% of recycled asphalt in making a new asphalt mix. Now you can use, on certain jobs, you can use up to 30. You know, and so everybody's trying to extend the life, but I look at it, it's like there's a barrel that keeps draining, and if you don't replenish the barrel, pretty soon it's going to get empty. So the permitting thing, I look at as that's the biggest challenge for us in my area. Anyone else? Thank you again.